politician speaking for the eager investors and entrepreneurs, but I'll try to keep it short. And after that, if you have some questions, I'll be happy to try answering them. So, dear investors, entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen, I will give you a brief glimpse on the situation in Finland, what we have had in the past years from politicians' perspective, then some insights on what we should do next, and then few ideas what still Finland has managed to do and what is actually pretty well in Finland today. I think this is not something you will see when you read the newspapers, as they basically tell everything isn't that great. I think that most of the people from Finland know it, but the situation in Finland has been difficult in 4 different areas. First of all, we've experienced a global downturn that has hit Finland as the export-oriented economy the hardest in Europe. So the financial crisis that led to, or the banking crisis that led to larger financial crisis and then affected the whole economy in the world and especially in Europe, has hit Finland maybe the hardest. Then secondly, many of the Finnish growth sectors, pulp and paper, IT industry, have been struggling, and they haven't been renewing their activities, and this has been the second problem in Finland. Many of the export fields have not done so well. Thirdly, our maintenance ratio in Finland, meaning the amount of people outside the working force compared to the amount of people in workforce, has been declining all the time. So it means we get less money for financing the public sector, and more services are demanded from the municipalities and public sector entities. And fourth thing is that I would say Finland has been in some sort of political crisis for the last 4 years. I think it's pretty hard to argue that we're in a crisis in the field of politics, but I think that during these 4 years, making decisions has been the hardest in decades. And 4 years ago, when people voted in the parliamentary elections, the True Finns party gained a huge success and huge win, and that led to really difficult political situation with 6 completely different parties, completely different agendas within the government, and this was actually the only government that we were able to form. So I think despite the fact that we have managed to do a lot of reforms, still it has been harder and it has taken longer than ever if you compare for the last decades. Surprisingly, I would say we have still managed to do a lot. In Finland, we have balanced the public sector debt for more than 6 billion euros during this electoral period. We have reformed the pension system. We have had really low salary increases for the past 2 years and will still have for the next year in order to enhance the competitiveness. We have made larger corporate tax reform than in 20 years. So within the EU membership period, we've never made such a big reform on corporate tax. We dropped the corporate tax rate from 26.5% to 20%. So we have actually managed to do a lot. And we have done a lot of small things. We have made tax incentives for the business angel investments in Finland, etc. But still, I think we should have done a lot more. Probably many of you know that many of the structural reforms, the social and health reform, municipal reform, they have not gone through as planned. And I think this has been the hardest always when you try to get into the structures and change something that has remained for decades as it is. That's always the hardest task for the political system, as there are so many who always stand against the change when they are municipalities, when it's the constitutional law of Finland. We have read that the social and health reform is struggling with the constitutional law. The corporations, the labor unions, they can always argue against the change and easily then anything in order to change the structures will not go through. Then what is needed in the next electoral period from policy-wise? I think politicians can't sort of push the button to say that growth spurs in Finland, but we could do a lot more in order to make the playing field better for the companies to grow and for the investors to invest in Finland. First of all, I think the public finances have to be in order. We can't anymore live taking debt every year, and this would mean, according to Bank of Finland and Ministry of Finance, that we would have to balance the all public sector 5 billion euros and only looking at the government, the governmental cuts would have to be 3 billion euros. So this is something that we have to challenge all the people running for the parliament to argue how would they balance the state budget and the public sector budget. I think also that the tax on labor and the tax on entrepreneurship has to be lower than it is presently. I think the only thing that really enhances the competitiveness of Finnish companies and drives the investments to Finland on general level would be large tax cuts for labor and large tax cuts for companies that create jobs. I think always you can find a niche where you can suggest something that would affect the economy as a whole would be tax system that would tax maybe more consumption, but then less labor and companies. Tax rate. The tax bracket in Finland can't be increased anymore. So a few ideas on the politics, and then looking at what's actually good in Finland. I think I'm probably one of the members of parliament who has attended more entrepreneurial events than any others, and I can also argue that there is one thing in Finland that's better than probably it has ever been, and that's the spring of growth, entrepreneurship, the spring of startups that we see currently, especially around Helsinki area, but overall it's getting up also in other large cities. I think this is a true show of the fact that when something old dies on the ruins, something great can also grow, and this is exactly what has happened. I think entrepreneurship has never been a success as sort of wanted career choice among the students as it is today. When I graduated from Helsinki School of Economics, basically no one decided to start a company, and if somebody did, that was perceived as awkward. But now I think I've read the statistics where they say that among the students in universities, it's the fifth career choice that they would pick. It's way higher on the ranks than Bank of Finland, which was on the top brackets when I graduated. So this shows a large shift also in culture. It's not only those who actually start up a company, but it's also on general scale something that affects all the students. I think we see it also on the entrepreneurial events as tonight, but also the larger scale events, Lush, etc. They create a lot of awareness also abroad. I think the statistics show that the private equity investments, the business angel investments to Finland have been growing rapidly. They're on higher level than ever before, okay, partially due to Supercell, but still I think it is a large shift. And of course, these few of these success stories that we have already seen from the startup scene will lead way for others to come. And at least I truly believe that this is something that creates also welfare for Finland in the future. And I think not only for Finland in general, of course, it means for the entrepreneurs, for the investors, that they will make it big. And this is also something I see valuable. As we all know, the economy is not a zero-sum game, so everybody can actually benefit from this. So, lastly, I will challenge you. I will challenge all the entrepreneurs here tonight for making it big, for trying to be global, international from day one. You should not, I think you should never compromise on your dreams of actually making it big. And the investors, of course, as an MP from Finland, I will challenge all the investors here investing in these young Spurs who dream it big, investing in Finland, as I believe that this will lead also better yield for your economy in the future. Thank you.